Lights, camera, dissect. Welcome back to Midnight Reel Reviews.
How can we explain time travel almost perfectly? This 2014 movie might just have the answer. It not only explores the paradoxes of time travel, but its mind-bending plot will leave you stunned. By the end, it becomes clear that great sci-fi doesn't rely on special effects or even famous actors. This film, with nearly zero CGI, proves itself with textbook-level storytelling. The protagonist of this story has no name. He works for a top-secret U.S. temporal agency. This mysterious department has only 11 agents, tasked with traveling back in time to stop major terrorist attacks before they happen. However, agents must follow strict time travel rules. They can only alter events authorized by headquarters and must avoid disturbing anything else in the timeline. The time machine resembles an ordinary object and can travel 53 years forward or backward from the 0 point, the date the machine was invented. Created in 1981, the agency can only go as far as 2034 in the future or 1928 in the past. The time machine resembles an ordinary object and can travel 53 years forward or backward from the 0 point, the date the machine was invented. Created in 1981, the agency can only go as far as 2034 in the future or 1928 in the past. The protagonist, whom we'll call No Name, is assigned a mission in 1970. Based on intel from future news reports, a building is about to be bombed. His mission is to defuse the bomb. With only 150 seconds left on the timer, No Name uses a high-tech device to neutralize the bomb by placing it in a suitcase. But at the critical moment, a mysterious man appears behind him and shoots him in the arm. The attacker clearly didn't intend to kill him. A key clue in the story: as the bomb nears detonation, No Name manages to contain it in the suitcase, but not in time. The blast throws him backward, and flames engulf his face. On the brink of death, another mysterious man appears and pushes a time machine to him. No Name uses it to escape to 1992, where he's saved by headquarters but is severely burned. The agency commends his bravery with a medal, but the bomber remains at large. Known as the Fizzle Bomber, this terrorist has orchestrated numerous attacks over a decade, culminating in a 1975 New York explosion that kills over 10,000 people. On the brink of death, another mysterious man appears and pushes a time machine to him. No Name uses it to escape to 1992, where he's saved by headquarters but is severely burned. The agency commends his bravery with a medal, but the bomber remains at large. Known as the Fizzle Bomber, this terrorist has orchestrated numerous attacks over a decade, culminating in a 1975 New York explosion that kills over 10,000 people. As an adult, John excelled academically and was recruited by a space company. However, during training, a violent altercation led to his dismissal. John later met a man who understood him deeply. They fell in love, but the man vanished without a trace. Soon after, John was recruited by a secretive organization. However, during a medical checkup, John discovered he was intersex, possessing both male and female reproductive organs. As an adult, John excelled academically and was recruited by a space company. However, during training, a violent altercation led to his dismissal. John later met a man who understood him deeply. They fell in love, but the man vanished without a trace. Soon after, John was recruited by a secretive organization. However, during a medical checkup, John discovered he was intersex, possessing both male and female reproductive organs. Following complications from childbirth, John underwent surgery, transitioning fully to male. Kitam, naming his child after himself, his daughter was mysteriously abducted 2 weeks later. Back in the bar, No Name reveals shocking details about John's past, convincing him to join the mission. Together they time travel to 1963, where John learns the truth. He fell in love with a younger version of himself. Watching from afar, No Name focuses on capturing the Fizzle Bomber. In 1970, he confronts the bomber, only to realize the bomber fights exactly like him. In a shocking twist, No Name discovers the bomber is his future self, leaving him questioning everything. Meanwhile, John, now in love with his younger self, embarks on a journey that will complete a mind-bending loop of identity, revealing that destiny and choice are deeply intertwined. It turns out that the man who stole the child back then was No Name himself. Immediately afterward, he traveled with the child to 1945. This child would grow up to become Jane in the future. In other words, Jane fell in love with her younger self, and even gave birth to herself with her opposite-gendered self. The mastermind behind all this was No Name. He then traveled to 1963, this time to pick up Jane. By now, Jane already had her child, and No Name's mission was complete. A furious Jane pointed a gun at No Name, demanding to know why he did all this. Feeling betrayed, Jane refused to leave with No Name. But after a mysterious conversation, Jane ultimately followed No Name and left. They traveled to headquarters in 1986, where No Name trained Jane to be his successor. Jane eventually took over No Name's work, while No Name retired and traveled to 1975. There, he intended to live out the rest of his days. Headquarters ensured retired agents couldn't time travel by modifying their devices for one-time use. However, to No Name's shock, his device still worked after traveling. Could there be another mission waiting for him? Sure enough, clues were hidden in an envelope left by the bearded man. Headquarters had used time fragments to locate a bomb case. It led to a laundromat in 1975, where No Name found the bomber. But when the bomber turned around, No Name was stunned. The bomber was his future older self. The elderly No Name explained that his terrorist acts were meant to save more lives. Using future news clues, he bombed locations to preempt terrorist attacks. This absurd reasoning was his way of justifying himself. But the elderly No Name insisted, saying he must not die. Otherwise, No Name would follow in his footsteps, and the loop would never be broken. The younger No Name ignored this plea and shot him multiple times, ending his life. Back home, No Name stared at the time machine, his darkened gaze revealing his descent into madness. Through his memories, we learned the truth. On the night Jane was abandoned, No Name revealed another fact. He was Jane in her middle years. They had orchestrated everything themselves. They had given birth to themselves, traveling through time to guide their own future. As for my interpretation of this film, the time agency depicted specifically recruits people like No Name. Strictly speaking, their very existence is a paradox. Their lives are endless loops of self-replication. Take No Name's life loop as an example. No matter his choices, nothing could change. Fate compels him to complete the loop. This is why, at the film's end, No Name shows signs of turning dark. Killing his older self was just part of the cycle. To truly break it, he must become the elderly No Name, waiting for his younger self to end it all. But will the loop ever truly break? Will the next No Name believe him? That, we'll never know.
Your VIP seat awaits. Subscribe now, and let's relive every movie moment together.